tarot cards, runes, spell books, voodoo dolls, all at the front of the shop. Back here's for specialty purchases only. Cursed objects. Now, are you really looking for something, or is this just a playful charade that you're putting on? Oh no, we certainly have a number of them. Just depends on what you're particularly looking for and what price you're willing to pay for it. Particularly because all of our cursed items are final sales, so there's no returning or anything like that. We sell them as is, and buyer beware, certainly. Although, I am supposed to tell you it's for entertainment purposes only. But they're not. So, did you know what you're looking for? Well, how about I just show you a variety and see what sticks? Great. So, did you want something with a backstory? How about we start with these? Oh, I assure you these are no pair of ordinary scissors. Certainly not. These were owned by a very famed garment maker named Lucrezia. Now, Lucrezia was known quite fondly for her amazing craftsmanship when it came to gowns or wardrobe of all sorts. She would spend so much time weaving, sewing, working on a spindle, spinning thread, and cutting fabrics to design things perfectly for each individual. Now, it's said that in the beginning of her career, Lucrezia, although known for her very talented work, was not particularly wealthy. And as it's said that one day, out of desperation, she decided to go down to the crossroads and meet the devil to try to strike a deal. And a deal she did make. Now, it's said that these scissors are the same scissors that the devil himself gave her. And that for a price, even though we're not sure what that price is, Lucrezia would gain the wealth of each patron she would now make a garment for. And so she became very rich, but these helped her with that, because as to gain the wealth of each of these very elegant and prosperous individuals, she personally would have to be the judge of how long their life would be. So, if she was commissioned to make a particular garment, she would spin thread, she would sew, she would cut, and the very last thread would be the thread of this person's life. Now, after they donned the garment, suddenly, many of them just dropped dead. Others took a little bit longer, a little bit more agonizing of mysterious illnesses. Some just disappeared. But each time they did, Lucrezia grew a little bit more wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, to the point where some people, seeing how rich indeed she was, and yet, rather than having someone else commission clothing or garments, Lucrezia continued to make garments for the upper echelons of society. After she passed, having no children, no husband, no heirs to be spoken of, her extensive estate was sold off. This pair of scissors with it. Now it's said that everyone who has owned these scissors, who have made a garment for a person, since then, each one of those individuals that donned the garment after soon took ill and died in very mysterious ways. Now, unfortunately for you, that means the owner of these, they're not quite a tradesperson. Quite frankly, these really aren't going to do any good. Well, as you have to make a garment for them. Does that sound like you, or whoever you might be gifting this to? No. Okay. Let's see then. Now, this next one I find very interesting. So this is Thomas. Now, Thomas has only ever had one owner outside of this particular shop. And it's said that Thomas has great persuasion over the people who take claim to him. The boy who grew into a man, who is now deceased, took quite fondly to Thomas when presented. Almost from the first day, the boy developed a strange obsession with the doll. It's said that he began to ask that when the table was set, a place was set for Thomas. When they would go on outings, that Thomas would come along. That when Christmas time came, that Thomas too had presents. And the boy ensured that the doll was provided for as well as himself. But during this time, it's also said that the boy grew more and more disturbed. It's also said that at times when the boy would be playing in his room alone, that two voices could be heard coming from behind the door. And then when you would access the room, it'd be nobody but the boy and Thomas. Now, as the boy grew into a man, he never lost a fondness for Thomas here. In fact, he only grew it stronger. So, once he had moved out from home, a strange number of fires began to start around the town, each of them being quite devastating to the community. Until the last one, when the man was caught red-handed. He and himself and Thomas here were caught standing outside, staring into the blaze, an own inferno in their hearts. And when the officers asked the man why he had done it, why he had caused so much chaos, he used the same excuse that he did when he was a boy, that it wasn't him, in fact, who wanted to do it, but he had to, because Thomas told him to. We can't say for sure if Thomas has much influence over anybody else, but certainly that boy who turned into a man who is now deceased, he certainly did. So, not a fan of clowns? Okay. Then, how about we go in the opposite direction? No. This is an antique. So it's said that this gun belonged to a particular outlaw, someone who had so much darkness in their heart that this gun has taken the life of over 100 people. Now, it's said that the owner of this gun, if in attempt to use it, because the gun itself has seen so much devastation throughout its entire existence, that it will take any sort of bullet and somehow maneuver it to come back into the owner. Now, it has 6 slots for bullets, and behind here is a small panel of original bullets. There once was 6, and now there are 3 left. We know that the first 3, each of them, ended in the death of the owner of this particular weapon. But for this, to take it home with you, you do need a gun license. And you need to register a firearm. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. people are. So, let's see then. Now this one is quite large, but I think worth the size that it is. I would treat this one with much, much caution though. So, do you know what this is? Not quite. This is what's known as a dybbuk box. Now, a dybbuk in Jewish folklore is considered more of a malevolent spirit that can attach itself to a particular individual. And when expelling a dybbuk or exorcising a dybbuk from someone, as it has snuckily gotten into them, they need to place it somewhere. A container, if you will, a vessel of sorts. So this is where they've decided to contain that particular spirit. So this particular box is known to contain at least one spirit, if not two. So as the story goes for this box in particular, which I would not suggest opening at any point in time, was said to belong to a young woman. Now, this woman, on her wedding day, ended up being possessed by the spirit of a former tormented lover. And as the day went on, the day's events grew darker and more dismal, and the woman began to grow more feverish and erratic in her behaviors, eventually leading to her own death. Now it's said that when she died, the two spirits of the former scorned lover and the bride-to-be ended up going to the afterlife together. But in another version of the story, they were both expelled to this box. So it's really up to you if you decide to open the doors or the drawers, if you will. We've never opened it in our care, and I certainly don't intend to, but quite frankly, it's something that can only draw you out of your own curiosity. Not quite. Did you like to play games as a kid? Or scare yourself a little bit, play with Ouija boards or Bloody Mary? Then I think I have the perfect gift for you. Are you ready? So this, you might recognize, is a Russian nesting doll. Now granted, this doesn't look like she would be very dangerous, but the trick to this is all in how you wield it. So, there's a type of, some would call it scrying. Scrying. It's, in a way, almost sort of a ritual that you can perform to try to see your future, give yourself good luck, look into different situations. But essentially what it is a mirror in a completely dark room with a single candle in front of it, and you sit in front of the mirror and stare into the mirror. Now this will create all sorts of whimsical, sometimes terrifying, sometimes wonderful images before your eyes. Many people claim to see their future selves or them in the afterlife, or watch their face transform into these grotesque creatures. It's quite interesting, but there's a much rarer form that involves Russian nesting dolls. Now, I won't get into all the details of it, but it's said that it is best played with an even number of nesting dolls once you remove each of them from the next. I couldn't tell you why. Apparently even numbers are just luckier. But these you place in front of a mirror with a candle lit behind each one of the dolls, including the smallest, the one that nests the most. You turn around, you make your intention, and when you turn back, depending on how the dolls look or have moved in their character, will allow you to know that if you've done this right or if you've done it wrong. Now, if you follow all the steps that you need to, taking great precaution when setting them up, and delicately piecing them back together, ensuring that each and every one of them are aligned perfectly and facing the correct direction, you take the smallest figure within the nesting dolls and you place it underneath your pillow at night before you go to bed. Now, in the morning, if it so happens that when you awake and you can no longer find this doll, then the doll itself has taken the place of your particular wish and given you great luck. But if the doll remains there in the morning, you are in for a devastating future and virtually have all the bad luck come at you at every turn, leading many times to some individuals' deaths. Now, I do have the directions for this particular game, and since I've not played it myself, in fact, I don't know anybody who's played it, but I do have directions if you'd like to play, and maybe you could be the first to let me know how well it works, and if your wishes indeed came true. Could be quite valuable, depending on the wish. I'd be very, very careful. This is the one. thought so. Well, you can pay for her up at the front. But I will say, good luck to you, and again, for entertainment purposes only. But best wishes. Then, how about we go in the opposite direction? Now,